Hi, I'm Ollie Hayes and you're watching The Fan Carpet. It's the penultimate day of Fright Fest and we'll be talking to the director and one of the stars of Berberian Sound Studio, as well as the writer of the movie Sinister starring Ethan Hawke. Let's take a look. Can you tell us a little about the conception of the project and why you decided to set it in the world of sound design and Foley artists?
I guess it's one of the things you just don't see. I think, it goes without saying that most films always hide the mechanics of how they're made, always hide the people behind them. And this film is the complete opposite. It hides the actual film and brings all the hidden people to the forefront. And I guess that was one of the starting points. But it just seems such a strange life that you watch this unspeakable horror every day of your life, but you're doing something so ridiculous and pantomime-like by just smashing vegetables. And I think these two complete contrasts are so bizarre, and how do we as an audience kind of deal with that? Do we laugh? Should we be horrified? So I guess that was one of the starting points.
So I was also interested in the character of Gilderoy. I think there's his kind of Britishness is very much at odds with the world he inhabits, and that kind of creates moments of levity in the film. Is that something you were keen to encourage, the comedy in that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's maybe a kind of Britain that isn't there anymore. I guess in the 70s, people didn't travel so much, and so it was quite common for people to just assume that the food in other countries was even worse. There's that line from Gilderoy's mother saying, I hope you're coping all right with the food down there. And so I guess that's the kind of Britain I grew up in the 70s. But I think part of it is also me being half English, half Greek. Basically, Gilderoy in Italy is that's me my whole life, dealing with myself. It was a lot easier to get the funding, yeah. I mean, because I think with Cod and Varga, prior to that, it was just impossible to get something even looked at. It was just absolutely impossible. So it was just infinitely easier after that. But still, it took 2 years, which for me is nothing. I remember one director complaining it took him 6 months to get his film funded, and I thought, come on, this is... But for me, 2 years that's easy, yeah.
And I think the tone of the film, obviously, it's kind of Italy in the 70s, conjures up memories of Argento. And did you what were those your inspirations for the style of the film, the look of the film?
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah, definitely. Argento and Fulci. I mean, no eyeballs, but Martino, Bava, just, many directors, definitely. I mean, more of the soundtracks, but I think visually, we weren't really coming off the horror with those films. There's more the outlandish colours, the set design, the hair. I think all those elements were so important to Giallo films. They'd always have costumes way up in the front credits, much higher than in other films. So they really made a big deal out of those things.
I moved to London 4 years ago, and then a year later, as I was auditioning for many projects, I also auditioned for Berberian Sound Studio, and things worked out. And this is why I'm here now.
How did you find working with Peter Strickland? How was he as a director?
It was amazing. It's a great experience. I have huge respect for him as a person, first of all, and second of all, as an artist and as a director. He's very inspiring, and he's really down to earth. And he creates this really human bond with his actors, and he doesn't really interfere. So he lets you do your thing, and you sort of work together without actually being told what to do, but he lets you discover what the part is about for you.
Can you tell us about your character? What was it? What drew you to that character? Why did you kind of feel you needed to take that role?
Yes, of course. So my character in Berberian Sound Studio is the secretary of the studio, and it's this really arrogant person that doesn't really want to work and does not want to help anyone. But I find her character quite funny because she's very emotionally detached and quite cold. It was a dream come true to work with Toby because he's a fantastic actor, and I'm not just saying it just to say it, but obviously he's one of the greatest actors that England has got. So it was he's like a teacher to me. He was, although we worked together for a few days, it was amazing just observing him transform and from emotion to emotion. And I find really funny, as you said, like the mixture of cultures, because Greeks and Italians in this film, but because I'm Greek, are quite laid back and very much more, open people in a way, and British are much more, So, and I love the fact that initially in the script, when you read the scene, you don't really feel that there will be a comic outcome out of it, but we made that happen because we did a good job, hopefully. So, yeah.
And obviously, you're going to be a Bond girl soon, and you'll be joining ranks of Honor Blackman and Ursula Andress. Was that daunting for you to be part of this world?
It was a wonderful experience. I have a small part in Skyfall, but it was just extraordinary working in this world of Bond, because it's such a massive production. But as with Berberians as well, what I value the most is that you get so much love from the people that create the films, not only from the cast, that is wonderful, but also from the director and the people that work behind the cameras. So it's this whole magical world that I got to be involved in, and I'm really, really fortunate.
Do you prefer kind of doing smaller things like Berberian or something more mainstream like Bond? What are the differences for you?
Well, for me, of course, you notice the difference around you in terms of production. You go from a smaller production to a bigger one. But for me, it's the same. I cannot really discriminate what I would prefer to do. Obviously, because there's two completely different fields. But I would be very blessed and fortunate to work in both worlds. Continue working, if that works out, I'd be very happy.
Well, there's something you find out relatively early on in the film, in that not all the murders have happened there. And what we tried to inject in the film was we created a reason why the family would stay in the house. Because that's the first thing. Every time you watch this kind of horror movie, you're like, I would have moved by then. Once this happened, I'm out of there. And then you don't really sympathize with the family anymore. And the idea here was to create a story where the person who's discovering these things would have a reason to keep it secret, and would have a reason that you'd believe that he would keep it secret, and that you'd buy into, and that you slowly watch the self-destruction of this character as he tries to maintain that secret. And ultimately, it plays into the not typical, but plays into the kind of family drama that actually creates, and we focus on. And we really want the audience to buy into as much of the family drama of a family member keeping secrets that endanger the family, while also being genuinely scared at the spooky stuff going on. Well, it came about purely by accident. I mean, it was a drunken night in Vegas. I've had this idea for a long time. Me and Scott have been friends for a long time. We happened to be in Las Vegas in the same weekend, found out about it, decided to get together to go drinking, and about 5 White Russians in, he decided to pitch an idea off me to just get my professional opinion on it and say, what do you think of this idea I'm working on? And I gave him my opinion, and I was like, well, now that you've told me your story, let me tell you this thing that's been rattling around in my head for a couple years. And he's like, all right, everybody pitches me at least once. This is your one. And so I pitched him Sinister, and at the end he said, oh, I want to make that movie.
So that's a wrap on the second to last day of Fright Fest. Stay tuned on the fan carpet for the last day tomorrow with Stefan. Cheers.